That was forward. That worked. Great. Thank you. This has been a very interesting and inspiring day, and I hope that my presentation won't disappoint. What I want to talk about is some of the practical aspects of translating purpose into business. And I want to start with Peter Drucker. All good things start with Peter Drucker, who told us that what you measure is what you manage, right? What you measure is what you manage. And so in thinking about purpose, I think we need to learn how to measure what matters. And that's a very important piece of the puzzle in order to actually execute on some of our ideas. So, this is a familiar business equation, okay? The very basic. I like to go slowly and simply, okay? So we start with the idea that business, you generate revenues, you subtract expenses, and what's left over afterwards is? Very good. Okay. Glad to see that we've managed to impart that to our BGI students who are sometimes profit averse. Okay, so what happens is revenues minus expenses equal profits. And what we are taught in most business schools, not BGI, thank goodness, but in most business schools is that the purpose of the business is to generate profit. In fact, the purpose of the business is to maximize profit, maximize shareholder value. You learn that day one, most places. Gifford talked a little bit this morning about Milton Friedman, and certainly he's been a great proponent of that. This system works fairly well in certain instances, and what it does is basically generate profit for owners. Okay, that's its purpose, maximize shareholder value. The shareholders are the owners. It takes money out of the business, either in the form of profit or in the form of dividends, and gives it to the owners, or takes money out of the business, reinvests it in the business, increases the value of the business, and increases the value of the business to the owners at some later point through increases in stock value or through the sale of the business. So far, so good, right? There's only one problem. Most of us are not owners. We're expenses. Okay? And in order to maximize profit, one of the biggest strategies is to minimize or reduce or eliminate expenses. That would be you and me, right? But it's worse than that. Some of the things that are expenses are the things that we most care about in this world, okay? The planet, the earth, the natural resources that we extract from it, expense. Okay? The air we breathe, the water we drink, the basic requirements of life that need to be cleaned up after industrial use, expense. The working conditions, the wages, the benefits, the physical plants in which we work, all of those things, expenses. Okay? This is a problem. Fortunately, we're not the first group of people to be thinking about this problem, and it's actually been pointed out since the beginning of capitalism. That said, most recently, it's come into conversation in terms of the triple bottom line. So we've got people, planet, purpose, which is also a very good start at this issue. But there are two basic problems with this particular formulation. The first is the problem around profit. Once you introduce maximizing profit into the equation, the other two issues, people and planet, are automatically subordinated to that. So even though we talk about the triple bottom line, what we really mean is the single bottom line, and whatever is left over can go to help those additional issues. And the second problem is somewhat different, and this is basically the problem of trade-offs. Okay? So even if we are able to resolve the profit problem, there's still this question about trade-offs. So what if we have a trade-off between the values of people, like jobs, economic well-being, and so on, and the values of the planet, like protecting and preserving the resource base that is required for the system to work. And the triple bottom line, because of the way it's structured, doesn't really give us any particular guidance on solving those trade-offs. And we'll come to that in just a second. There are several speakers here today who have shown us a more appropriate model for the triple bottom line. It's cropped up in several different presentations. Carol talked about nested values. Rajmir had a slide very similar to the one that I'm going to show you. And basically, this is a different drawing of the triple bottom line that's based on the viewpoint of ecological economics, where we start with the planet, the biosphere, the natural world, the earth that we inhabit. That's the basic starting point. We add into that people, the social system, and all of the things that people bring to the planet and contribute. And then last, we add in the economic system, which is a subset of the social system, which is a subset of the ecosystem. That's a more correct view of what this thing really looks like and how it really operates. But there's a further problem. And this is the problem that one of the speakers today alluded to when quoting Albert Einstein, or quoting a quote that is often attributed to Albert Einstein, which is this notion that you cannot solve a problem from the same consciousness that created it. And so what we're wanting to do, or what I'm wanting to do in this presentation, is abstract the notion of purpose out of this existing system, lay it down flat, and then pull purpose up out of it so that that becomes the higher level of consciousness that we look at when we're trying to rectify these things. And so if we need to make trade-offs, we make trade-offs in a way that furthers our purpose, not that pits these things against one another. Okay? Now, don't panic. Okay? I never in my life, as an English major, thought I would use the words linear programming in a public presentation, okay? So don't panic, I'm not actually going to do any math here, but I am going to talk a little bit about math, and the reason is that if we're going to manage what we measure and measure what matters, eventually we're going to have to do some math. Fortunately, there is a system that exists, which is this linear programming thing, that enables us to optimize against a particular objective. And the objective in this case is going to be purpose. So let me show you a little bit about how this works. First, the basic model, and then we'll have a little case example. Okay? So the basic model is basically that you are attempting to maximize your objective. In most cases with linear programming problems, that's maximize profit. In this case, it's maximize purpose. Okay? Maximize the fulfillment of purpose subject to a set of constraints. And the constraints in this case are going to be people, planet, and profit. Okay? Something very important just happened, which you may have missed. Okay? What we did was we took profit from the position as the objective of business and put it in its proper place as a constraint on our fulfillment of purpose. We definitely need profits, but they're in the service of something that's much larger and more significant than that. Okay, so how does this really work? I want you to meet a friend of mine, a new friend of mine, whose name is Cindy Todd, and I got her into today's presentation as one of my props. So Cindy, would you stand up and say hello? This is a big honkin' piece of Cindy's soap. Okay, that's my second prop. She makes this soap in her home and is a relative newcomer to the Pacific Northwest. She and her husband lost their jobs in Florida, moved out here with their 4 kids, had trouble finding new employment, and because she has an MBA, she, of course, decided to make soap, right? Actually, what she decided to do was sell soap, but making it was part of what she was deciding to do. Okay, so here's her business. The thing about Cindy is her goal isn't to make the most soap, and it isn't to make the most money from selling soap. It's to help other women who need an income for their families to be able to go into the soap making business and support their families. Okay? That's her purpose. Okay? And she will know that she's successful when she has maximized, okay, we're back in the language of linear programming, when she has maximized the number of women who are able to help support their families by making soap. Okay? That is subject to some constraints, and she has people constraints, planetary constraints, and profit constraints. Her people constraint is that she wants these women to be able to make a living wage. Okay, and we can quantify that in our financial model any way you want. In this particular financial model, I'm saying $30,000. I don't know whether that's a livable wage or not, but if you're working, if you're poor and you don't have a job and you've got kids to support and you're living in a remote community, $30,000 from selling soap sounds pretty darn good. Okay, so she wants to be able to pay the people who work with her or enable them to earn $30,000 a year. That's her people constraint. Next constraint on planet, her motto is real good soap, okay? By which she means healthy, natural, homemade, zero artificial ingredients, okay? So we're gonna set the planetary constraint to 0 artificial ingredients. Okay? And then the profit constraint is interesting here. Like many an entrepreneur, she started a business that doesn't necessarily support her in the style to which she would like to become accustomed. So one of her goals is to pay herself, one of her goals is to pay her bills, and one of her goals is to return 10% into the business so that she can fulfill her ultimate purpose, which is to make more people like herself able to be self-sufficient from selling soap. Okay, so that's what that looks like, all that long language. All right, so one of the things that's interesting about this is, although you don't know how to do linear programming, your computer already does. Okay, this is very good news. There is a little free add-in plugin to Excel called Solver that does linear programming on your desktop, no questions asked. And what you can then do is build one of these models for your own business by putting in purpose in the category that says set objective, and then saying that you want to maximize the number of self-employed women, in this case, okay, by changing whatever business variables you have in your financial model and your business plan, right, subject to the constraints that you won't go below the levels that you have set for the business that you want. Then you click solve, right? And the computer chunks away, not very long, and what comes out is more Cindy's, okay? So what you learn how to do is maximize the number of people who are able to make a living selling soap, subject to the constraints of people, they need to be able to make $30,000, planet, no artificial ingredients, and profit, we're going to pay all the bills, pay Cindy a salary, and return 10% to grow the business. Not bad, eh? Okay, so what now happens with the basic business equation is we have revenues minus expenses equals the fulfillment of our purpose, subject to the constraints that our standards for people, planet, and profit won't go below a certain level, okay? And if we do this, the earth will thank us, and I'll thank you.